Welcome to Retro Skill Modelling. This is part 5 of the Revell Dashboot 40th Collector's Edition Scale 1 to 144 build. In part 4 I placed on the command tower and railings and got most of the deck furniture, well, all of the deck furniture on. In part 5 I'm placing on the aerials and wires onto the sub, doing a little bit of weathering before the final reveal. So let's get into this. So to begin with, I'm weathering the sub. So I'm using the Tamiya's Weathering Master B and the rust component. I'm taking my brush sharpener, that's the foamed tip brush or rubber brush, and I'm placing the pigment on it, then just rubbing it onto the model to apply the rust effect. As I've explained in other videos, this can be done as heavily as you like or as little as you like. This all depends on the builder, like most of these things are. But I tend to pick out areas where rust may drip off the sub, so where the railings join the hull and so forth. It's now time to do the rigging. So I'm using Mono spider wire, £6 here. Now this is basically fishing line, but it's a clear polymer wire which stretches and is very good for rigging. It comes in many different sizes as well. You know, so it's good to have something like that in your arsenal for the rigging. So what I'm doing here, I'm cut 4 different lengths of wire, 2 smaller ones and 2 longer ones. I've used a little bit of masking tape here just to hold them down, and I'm going to be putting in the 2 smaller ones in the middle, and then on the outside the 2 longer ones joining at one point. So effectively I'm bunching them up together at one point, and then once I've done that, I'll just use a little bit of super glue to attach them. Doesn't need much, just a tiny little dab of super glue, and then they're all in one piece. I'm now taking the outside of the wire, one of the longer ones, and passing it through the turret at the top here. Now there's a little location point for this. If you look at the photographs of the sub, you'll see where the aerial wire goes. Try and use that as your anchor point. Now the reason why I'm putting it in now is because I want it to run the entire length of the sub. However, you do have to make sure that where you're joined the 4 pieces together is facing the right direction, so towards the bow. So once it's through, I take it down to the stern of the ship and onto the main bracket there, and I'll use just a little bit of super glue to attach it on top of the bracket. Again, it doesn't need much, you may have to hold it. You can balance it on top of the bracket, or you can weave it through, however you feel should be done, and anchor it there. Also leave a tail end off near the end of the bow, or the stern of the ship, sorry, because this will be going onto the deck, but you don't necessarily have to attach that part right at this point. So if I can just lift it to the camera, you can see where I'm attaching it to, and do the same again on the opposite side. So you should end up with 2 stretched pieces of wire to the stern of the ship. Now going back to the bow, and the 2 smaller pieces of wire, they get attached in front of the main command position, just where the mast is, and it's important that you attach these first and let them set. And once they're set, then you can take the other end of the longer wire to pull down to the bow of the ship. So that's the one, it's going from the stern where the bracket is, and it runs right through onto the railing of the tower, and then goes right down to the stern of the ship. And at the stern, the bracket, there's a little eyelet there that you can thread the wire through, and that will act as your anchor point, like so. And once you pulled it taut and secured it, you simply just snip off the excess. The tail end where the 4 wires meet, take that off first. Be careful that you don't cut way into where the super glue is holding them all, or you'll find it all come apart. So be gentle. Here I use scissors for this part because you have a little bit more control at removing the excess. So again, if I lift it up, you can about see where the wire's going and how it's how the layout is going to be on the sub. Once the rigging's on the wire, I use Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey, and I put a little amount on my brush and then just run it over the actual wire. You only really need to do it on one side of the wire. Don't worry about you trying to encompass the whole wire for the colour, because it's practically a transparent piece of filament. It will show all the way through, and you don't really have to paint it if you don't want to. You can leave it clear, but I like putting on the metallic grey just to simulate a wire, and it gives it a little bit more definition. And lastly, I use Mr. Hobby H28 metallic metal black, and what I'm doing here, I'm painting where the joins of the wire come together, and this gives the illusion of a turnbuckle. Now, of course, you can put in a turnbuckle if you wish to make it more authentic. I simply didn't have any, hence why I haven't used them. And in this scale anyway, they're absolutely tiny. So it all depends whether you want to use them or not. So I think this brings the build to an end. There was a lot more involved in this kit than there was apparent forms, hence why there was 5 videos for this actual kit. It surprised me in the end how much there was in this kit, but well worth it, I think. So this was a lovely little build. We recommend this kit for most people, beginners as well. They would have a lot of fun to do this. It's a good introduction to a submarine as well. And before I go, a little teaser on one of my up-and-coming builds. I have Trumpeter's DKM U-boat. It's a type V11C U552 and scale 148. Then I have Revell's type 9C40 U190, scale 172. And lastly, Revell's type 7C Wolfpack, scale 172. Now all these 3 models I have in my stash. They're extremely large kits, so I'm only going to be building one of them for the moment, but I can't make my mind up which one to build. In fact, the Daz bought one was much of a tester to see how I felt about doing a sub before I done one of the larger scale ones. So I'm putting it up here for suggestions. What would you like to see? One of those 3s, or maybe something different that I can get hold of? Either way, let me know in the comments if you have a suggestion, and I plan to get this built later on in the year or early in the next year, because it will take a bit of planning to do. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out my channel and see all the other builds that I've done. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get a notification of any future builds. Hit that like button and of course leave a comment. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.